Hello and welcome to Me, the Wife and Wrexham AFC, a weekly podcast and YouTube channel discussing everything Wrexham from the point of view of long-term fans and brand new fans like my wife. So sit back, put your feet up, relax and let's get stuck in. Hello and welcome to episode 51 of Me, the Wife and Wrexham AFC. Coming up on today's show, we've got the news. We're going to take a closer look at two of the clubs that we're due to face in League 2 next season. We've got the quiz, of course, Yay! As we do every week. And we've got two guests on our fan forum this week. Absolutely top-notch guests this week. So Amazing. Please stay tuned for that one. You will not be disappointed. So let's start off with news.
Yes, let's. So first and foremost, I want to say give a massive shout out to our nephew, Zach. He wanted us to give him a shout out today. So we're doing that. He plays for the Pennyforth Lions. Pennyforth?
Yeah.
Pennyforth Lions. So hello Zach, we love you very much.
Hello.
Auntie and Uncle Ryan and Sean.
Auntie and Uncle Ryan and Sean. Yeah.
You know who we are. So yes. Hello Zach.
Hello. Right, so this week we had the Player of the Season awards.
We did,
didn't we? Which was nice.
Shocks really.
No massive shocks. No. So men's Player of the Season was Paul Mullin.
Shocking.
Did you vote for Paul?
I can't remember. So I just called you babe on here. I'm sorry.
It's all right. That's fine.
Babe. All right, babe.
No, I voted for... I think it was very...
I probably did.
I think it was very hard to see past him, if I'm perfectly honest.
But sometimes you have to.
I just don't think you could see past him. I just think there are other players. Elliot Lee was definitely with the shout. Ben Tozer, again, played every minute of the season in the league.
Yeah.
Definitely in with a shout. But I just couldn't see how you could put anyone above Paul. I just couldn't. I think if Elliot Lee wasn't there, it would be a massive hole in that midfield. We have Jordan sitting on the bench and he probably could have done a decent job in that position. You know, Tozer, excellent. He had an excellent season, but I just think there are other players that could have come in there and maybe done a job. I think you take Paul out of that team and I think he's very hard to replace him. Very, very hard to replace him. And that's the reason that I went for him. And so did everyone else. Yep. So that's why you won it.
Yep, true.
The men's young player of the season was Sam Dalby.
Yep.
Well deserved.
I think so. I mean, if it was the season before, obviously Max Cleworth played a massive part, didn't he? But
yes.
I think he didn't play as much. So I think Sam Dalby is a worthy winner of that award this season, I think he's
definitely come into his own. He's come from a position of sitting on the bench a lot to, I think by the end of the season, definitely challenging Ollie for that other sort of striker spot.
I feel like that's the plan, though. I think even Ollie's like kind of pushing Sam Dalby to kind of.
I think that should always be the plan, though, shouldn't it? You bring a young player in, with talent that needs nurturing and developing. You've got Ollie's not old. Let's not.
He's old in the football world, though, isn't he?
He's got more years behind him than he's got ahead of him.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
So that should always be the plan. You should always be looking at, Sam learning from Ollie, because they're similar stature. They've got similar sort of gameplay. I think that's how it should be. And then they should be gradually bringing Sam in. I think they're doing it at the right pace. I think they're doing it in the right way.
Yeah.
I think he's going to turn out to be a very good player for us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah, and me as
well.
Old
Dalbs.
Yeah. So the women's player of the season was Erin Lovett.
Yes.
Erin had an excellent season last season. Actually, I think I might have got this a bit mixed up. I think was Erin Lovett the players' player of the season?
Yes.
And Rosie Hughes was the player of the season, wasn't she? Sorry, I got them a little bit. There's all these player of the season awards. Erin Lovett was Players' Player of the Season. Again, an excellent player, vital to that team, and I can see why she won that. Rosie Hughes won Player of the Season, second year in a row.
Yes.
Same
Again,
for,
well
same
deserved.
same for Paul as well, second year in a row
Yes.
for Paul to win that.
Rosie's like the female version of
Paul. Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
And they got the same numbers as well.
Ooh, I don't know what Rosie's number is. Is it 10?
I'm not sure.
Is she 10?
I've got a feeling that she is.
Comment down below. Is Rosie Hughes number 10? You'll have to let us know. I'm not sure, you know.
I'm sure I've looked at that before. I can't remember the
Yeah, but yeah, she was knocking in goals for fun, and I think well deserved. I think for Rosie
do you know what
to
would
win
be
that.
fun?
What would be fun?
Like a shootout, like a penalty shootout between Rosie Hughes and Paul Mullen.
If only we had a goalkeeper with a successful YouTube channel that could maybe do that on their YouTube channel. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, do you know anyone who's
No, I don't. I don't. Come on, Ben, sort that one out. That'd be quite good to see, though.
I know,
wouldn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of a Soccer AM sort of esque thing.
That'd be quite cool, actually. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Come on, Ben, get that done. And the women's young player of the season was Amber Lightfoot.
Yes.
Who, I'm getting sick of saying this sentence, won it for the second year in a row. She is, again, amazing player. She is going to develop over time into a top quality player. Just about the women, they're obviously going into the Adran Premier. Now, the Adran Premier is as far as they can go. So they could win that, you know, a couple of years in a row, maybe. Or let's see how that season goes. What do you do after that? Because you've got the WSL, which is the Women's Super League. Right. And that's where you've got teams like Man United and you know, the Man Cities and the big Chelsea, big teams.
Yeah.
Do you push towards that?
Definitely. I think the girls are good enough to do that.
Maybe.
Definitely, yeah.
So the lads, they came back to training this week. So the season is very much coming closer now. Just a quick one as well before we move into the teams that we're going to cover this week. International season passes are now available on iFollow. Yes. They're £140, and that works out just over £3 a game that we worked out. And they are available. If you go to the Wrexham AFC website, you'll find a link on there to actually buy it. That is for international fans.
Yep.
£140. You can also get an audio pass,
which is £45.
£45. That is obviously audio only on there. And any other news for the week?
Well, whilst we were setting up and everything ready for the podcast today, the news came out. Obviously, we all know that the stadium name has been given to Stock Cold Brew Coffee.
Yeah.
Well, news out today is they are actually going to be, the university end is being renamed Stock Cold Brew Coffee Stand.
Ooh. Money, money, money. It's all money in it. It's all good.
So, yeah.
Fantastic. One last little bit on news. Is we are up for a podcast awards, the Listener's Choice Awards in the British Podcast Awards. If you would like to vote for us, obviously we won the Non-League Bible Podcast of the Year award.
So we're just like going for every single
We would
award.
love to add this to our list, Listener's Choice Award. That would be amazing. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description for that. We will release it out on our social media as well. All you need to do is you need to click the link and you have to search for us. There's a little bar. Just type in me, the wife, and Wrexham, and then it comes up. As you're typing Wrexham, it pops up with our logo. Click on it and you can vote for us through that. So please, we would love you to vote for us.
It's open to international people as well. So
all around the world. So please vote for us. That would be amazing. So 2 clubs that we're going to look at this week.
Yep.
The first one of which is Sutton United.
Yeah, so Sutton United are 205 miles away.
Yeah.
They're 11 miles southwest of London.
Yeah, so they're towards the Wimbledon sort of area of London. Wimbledon sort of area of London, down that way.
Down that way. So they play at the Gander Green Lane.
Yeah.
At Gander Green Lane.
Yeah.
And their stadium is called the VBS community stadium.
For sponsorship purposes.
Shock. They've got a fairly good capacity of 5,032. Only 765 of those are seated.
Yeah, so they came up from National League a couple of years ago. They're probably ahead of the curve of where their plans were. So their stadium could do with a little bit of redevelopment.
Yeah.
A lot of it is terraced at the moment, so...
I hate it. Yeah, I hate standing. And the away end is called the Collingwood Road End.
Yeah.
It's a terrace, so there's no official capacity.
No.
I'm assuming there has to be like a breaking point of like, you can't just ram 7,000 fans into it, can you?
Again, it'll be down to like a safety advisory group of how many people they let in. So that's why there's no official capacity there.
Yeah. They play in yellow.
Yeah.
Their nickname are the U's.
The U's?
The U's, the Utes.
As in United.
Yeah.
So it's you.
Yeah. That's a long, hard thought out name, isn't it? And their mascot is Jenny the Giraffe.
I was looking it up this week. And
Jenny the Giraffe.
I thought, that's not real. And I thought, I'm going to have to Google Jenny the Giraffe. Googled it. Yeah, it's full-on giraffe.
Do you reckon it's a woman inside it, though?
Oh, I don't know. Called Jenny.
Called Jenny from the block.
No, so it's quite a cool mascot, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not as cool as Rex, obviously.
No, I never said that, did I?
Just,
I'm just saying, I saw it this week, and it is a very cool mascot, and I was quite...
So, as you mentioned, they were a non-league team up until 2021, and they were promoted to EFL first time in their 123-year history, which is amazing.
Yeah.
They finished 14th on 58 points.
Yeah.
They're managed by Matt Gray.
Yeah.
Non-league player retired at 25 due to an injury.
Yeah. So he's been there for a little bit. 14th is very mid-table, which I dare say going up in 2021. Not a huge budget, and I think they'd be quite happy with mid-table. They were 17 points off the playoffs and 15 off relegation, so they were very much right in that middle. The top scorer I'm glad you're reading this last season was Omar Bogle and Will Randall Huron, who both scored 6. So not a lot of goals there in them. Famous fans, Tim and Jeremy Vine.
Our old mate Jeremy Vine.
Anyone doesn't know, we appeared on Jeremy Vine's radio show on Radio 2 a few months ago. After we won the league or just before we won the league?
I don't know if it was the day of the parade. I can't remember.
It might well have been. It was around that area anyway. Yeah. That video's up on our YouTube if anybody wants to go back and realise who Jeremy Vine is.
Subscribe while you're there.
Subscribe while you're there. Yeah. Why not? Head over. That's it. Sutton United, really. The other club we were going to discuss is Doncaster Rovers. Do you know anything about Doncaster? Without reading, do you know anything about Doncaster?
It's 111 miles away.
You just read that as if Doncaster Rovers. Oh yeah, I only know one fact. They're 111 miles away. They are 111 miles.
Just so happened to be the first note on the slide.
Yeah, they play at the Eco Power Stadium. They've got a capacity of just over 15,000. The away end holds 3,344. They can go up to 3,700, but they give away some of another stand. So it depends on what they want to do.
Well, I think they will probably up it because our fans will definitely buy all of those tickets.
I would say so. They play. It's a new stadium. It is, so it's a new purpose-built stadium.
Cool.
They play in red and white hoops. Their mascot is Donny the dog.
Red and white hoops? You mean earrings or?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Stripes go down the shirt, hoops go round the shirt.
No.
Well, what? Don't say that like you knew. You bloody didn't know. Hoops and stripes.
So their mascot is Donny the dog.
I just said that.
I know, but I'm just reiterating it.
Oh, are you?
They finished 18th in League 2 last season on 55 points. They were 12 points off relegation.
Yeah.
Which is squeaky bum time for them.
Not really. I mean, that's 4 wins. I think they were comfortable-ish where they were. I think they were all right.
They're managed by Grant McCann, who played for Cheltenham, Scunthorpe, and Peterborough, amongst others. He played for quite a few teams.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I know who Grant McCann is. But yeah, he's
Yeah. Their top scorer or scorers were scorer, George Miller.
Yeah.
He scored 15 goals, which is not that shabby, really.
No, it's pretty decent.
He played 5 games on loan at Wrexham in the 17-18 season.
Do not remember him.
I mean,
I don't remember him at all. Famous fans, you got Paul Daniels, the magician, for anybody who knows that.
Who sadly died in 2016.
He did indeed. And Louis Tomlinson from One Direction, who most people will probably know.
Yeah, of course they will.
So there you go. So, fan forum. We've got 2 amazing guests on this week.
So excited about this.
We've had Americans on.
We have.
We've done America. Completed it. We've done some local Wrexham fans and discussed it with them. This week, we're casting our net a little bit further afield to 2 Australian gentlemen. So we've got Chris from Perth and we have Adrian from Adelaide. So welcome to the show, both of you. How are you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, we are great. Thank you so much for coming on. Now, Chris and Adrian, they're not just normal people.
No,
they're not at all. They are podcast people.
They are.
So Chris and Adrian, they run a podcast called Two Beards, a podcast, and Wrexham AFC, which is a great name for a podcast, by the way. Was there any inspiration for that name from anywhere?
Yes. Well,
yeah.
The inspiration
you go
came
for it,
from
Chris.
the fact that Ryan Reynolds had a show called Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. So originally we were actually going to have a female host as well, but it didn't end up working out, and so we sort of had to jig the name around a bit to try and still keep it in the same style, and that gave us Two Beards, a podcast, and Wrexham AFC. So
I must admit though, when he pitched it to me, I did say, I'm like, geez, that's a bit like Me, the Wife, and at Wrexham AFC, but I see where we're going with it and I like it. But I think I clued in on that as well. So
good name. It's a good name. I like it.
It is a good name. You're only saying, yeah, theirs is a good name, but you're saying that because you came up with our name, aren't you?
Well, you know.
Yeah.
I like to be an inspiration to people.
that's it.
You guys, you live about, I think people would be excused for thinking that you are you live around the corner from each other, but that really isn't the case. You're about 1,500 miles apart from each other. So how did it sort of come about that you started a podcast together?
Oh, look, it was quite an interesting one. We found each other on Twitter, like all love stories work. And Chris basically reached out, and we'd actually kind of seen each other on Twitter when it comes to, a lot of those Twitter lives and joining in and listening. And actually, Chris caught my eye when in a classic one after the county game, because he was the only person swearing on the entire Twitter live. And then he asks at the end, "Is it okay I swear?" So that probably made me chuckle a lot. So when he actually entered my DMs, is that what the kids are saying?
He slid into your DMs.
Slid. And no, he goes, "Hey, look, I'm thinking of doing a podcast, and I've seen your Twitter content," which, to be honest, he was flattering me. And yes, he said, "Do you want to do it?" And I said yes. So that's kind of where I got from it. But Chris, why'd you pick me? I just want to know, just personally.
Well, yeah, it was pretty much a case where I saw a lot of your content and I thought, oh, that style, that's you're very much like the type of friends that I keep, and very much hang out with all the time and have a lot of good banter with. And I thought, yeah, this is a bloke that I can get along with. So I reached out for you just to try and, connect with other Wrexham fans. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, we're hosting a podcast.
And the rest is history, as they say.
Exactly. We have a proper Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney style story, because we actually have now gone into our own business together as a partnership and doing our own little media production company, doing video edits for other people and sound edits and digital media websites, all that sort of stuff. So it's just,
and we've never met.
Taken off.
Never met in
taken off.
person. Exactly the same.
Have you got any? Obviously, you just touched on there that you've never met before, but your relationship seems like you've been friends for years. Are there any plans for you to meet up in the future?
Yeah, I think the aim would be we make a joke. It's just funny that the chance of us meeting is probably more likely at this point we're going to meet in Wrexham than actually meeting in our own country. So we definitely have plans to head over some point next year. That's the goal. But obviously we just have to make sure our ducks are in a row before we make that big leap.
Probably the question that every man and his dog has asked Ryan and Rob since they took over. I'll direct that very same question at you guys now. Why Wrexham?
For me, like, see, as an Aussie, like, we generally don't jump teams very much, and I did support Coventry. I've made that very known that I supported Coventry beforehand. I've even got Coventry jerseys hanging up. But
yeah, we forgive you though. It's all right.
But yeah, look, I guess just like anybody, they got interested in it through the documentary, which is exactly how I got into it. And I was like, this is interesting. I'm kind of wanted to see what happened next season, and that forced me into watching and how they're going in games. And I was getting all their updates and watching the games, and then watching the games some more. And then it was like every week I'm watching their game. All of a sudden, I'm not watching Coventry games anymore. I'm watching Wrexham. And then I started looking for podcasts and Wrexham-based material that I could listen to. And that's where you guys came along. And yeah, I just every day just had to have something Wrexham. Had to, I want to know what's going on. I want the latest, because it seemed like every single day there was just something new happening that was just mind-blowing. It was just like, this is just like insane to watch. I can't imagine what it's like to be someone living in Wrexham and actually experiencing it. And it just had me captivated, and it just took me, and it took my heart, and that was it. I ever since the Coventry game where they beat Coventry, I was like, that's it. I'm just all Wrexham. I can't deny it. It's my love. So, yeah.
I think a lot of people, when they start to support a club, they start off as quite a casual fan. I think that's just a natural thing. When you first start following a club, it's quite a casual thing. And then there's usually a moment where you go, I love this club. And then, what was your sort of like, holy crap, I love this club sort of moment?
Yeah. Oh, look, I think I mentioned it on the pod a couple of weeks ago, where I said, like, I was just watching, I watched the documentary. I have an Australian football team here that I support quite well. But I moved states, and basically I was not there present for these, I guess, matches and games. And I kind of saw the opportunity with Wrexham, in the sense that I can actually, stay up, watch replays, do these kind of things with, National League TV coming into fruition as well, listening to Mark Griffiths, things like that. But the moment was against I don't know if you guys remember the York City away game last season.
Yeah, we were there.
Yeah, you were at the 1-1 draw, right? Yeah. And it ruined my weekend.
It did ours.
It completely ruined my weekend. And that's when I knew I was hooked, because it actually influenced the way I was around the house. My wife goes, you seem a bit low today. I'm like, oh yeah, just last night, Wrexham didn't get up. And she's like, okay, like, just a bit weirded out by it. But I think that's when I personally knew I was in for the long haul. And then, yeah, up late watching and tweeting, and yeah.
So we already know that Welcome to Wrexham was massively received in America. How, in your opinion, was it received in Australia? Obviously, you two have watched the documentary. How do you think it was received over there?
It's still, so Disney Plus is the streaming service that Welcome to Wrexham's on, and it's competing for the attention of a lot of listeners and followers and that down here at the moment, because we just seem to be getting inundated with streaming services. I think so I think the welcome to Wrexham is still growing. I've seen it on a few buses, and the following is definitely growing. So it's real hard to gauge at this stage where that documentary sits within Australians, but I can honestly say that anyone that I've seen that has watched Welcome to Wrexham is either somehow interested in Wrexham and how they're going, or become full-blown fans.
Love that.
Yeah, I love that. It's sort
Our
of
little
like,
town is just
Yeah.
amazing.
it is.
I love it.
It's crazy. I think you touched on it then, Adrian. I wanted to talk about the sort of Australian A-League briefly. Now, the only thing... I know two things about the Australian A-League.
Two more things than I do.
Well, it's not really... Yeah, but the only two things I know... I'm quite well versed in football, and I watch football from around the world. The only two things I know from the Australian A-League was Tom Glover getting hit in the head by a bucket, and Sydney United fans doing a Nazi salute in some cup final, and they're the only two things that I
Two horrible things.
Yes, I know, and that is my point. I'm not saying that is what Australian football is about, but how big is the sort of like football as a sport in Australia? Because I'm assuming it's not the number one sport in Australia.
No, the AFL and the NRL. So AFL being the Australian Football League in terms of Aussie rules, and then you've got NRL, which is the rugby league. Sorry, those definitely dominate the media's. You know, NRL more so in Sydney, AFL more so in Melbourne, and Adelaide and Perth. The A-League, yeah, look, to be honest, that is actually a very good, it's a great idea of what's happened to the A-League. The A-League's it's tried to build from the ashes of its previous leagues in the sense that, and it's not a shameful thing to know, but football in Australia was very much an ethnic-based sport in the sense that, you know, if you were Croatian, you went for Melbourne Knights, which was a Melbourne Croatia club, and then if you were Greek, you would, you know, South Melbourne. These are the teams, and they tried to dissolve that. And I think with that, unfortunately, it became very plastic, and these clubs became very manufactured in the A-League, and that's where kind of the interest. I mean, it's never really been there, and it's not generational. Because the A-League's only been around since 2005, it's not generational. So you're not got, you know, oh, my grandfather went for Melbourne City. It's just not the done thing. So that's where I think it's just not represented. Every World Cup, of course, everyone gets behind Australia. That's just Australia in general. Like, we love our sport. Doesn't matter if it's cricket, netball, whatever it might be. If Australia's in it, you know, Australia gets behind it. But and you would have seen from the last World Cup the big cohorts supporting, but that died straight off. And actually, the week after we came back from the World Cup, Tommy Glover got hit with a bucket by a fan, which is. He was the goalkeeper for Melbourne City, but he's just left. But yeah, again, another representation of also how the media in Australia portrays the sport. They perceive it as a hooligan sport that's only for people who cause trouble.
Yeah, and I think that's, to be fair, that's why I brought them two things up, because, you know, I sometimes fall down a rabbit hole on YouTube or on Twitter, and I start looking at different things. And, you know, for me to only know about really them two things from the A-League and not really know much. I don't remember really watching much actual football from the A-League. It's generally incidents that have happened, and you sort of answered my question already, really, in the sense of, you know, the media in Australia is pumping out this sort of message. So, if the media within that country is pumping that message out, us from like thousands of miles away, that's the only message that we're going to get, really. What about you, Chris? Because I know you were born in England, you were sort of raised in England for a bit before moving over to Australia. Adrian touched on like the World Cup, for example. What's that like for you? Because you've obviously got an interest in a couple of camps there. So how does that sort of work for you?
Oh gosh, yeah. Just touching base on what Adrian says, like in WA, it's a 2-team town. You got the West Coast Eagles, you got the Fremantle Dockers. And what hurts football in Australia, or as Aussies would say, soccer, they that it's the advertising and the structure of the sport and the organization body itself, the FA, who make a lot of controversial decisions, and they have the perfect opportunity every single World Cup to capitalize on the success of it, but they just never take it. And like Adrian says, a week after, it's like nothing ever happened. But for myself, having my finger in a few different camps, it's an interesting one, especially when Australia versus England. It's kind of a case of I'm just happy whatever the outcome.
That's a good optimistic way to look at it.
but I mean, my heart, I'm an English boy, that's where I was born. That's where a lot of my extended family still is. Albeit a little bit more spread out around the UK these days. But I tend to follow English football a lot and follow, obviously, England when they're in the World Cup, and hope that Australia and England don't cross too soon.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on Mark Griffiths a little bit, because for anybody who's not listened to the Two Beards podcast, first and foremost, it's a great podcast and anyone out there should definitely listen to it. A couple of weeks ago, you had Mark Griffiths on. Now, Mark Griffiths is he's very popular / famous with international fans, shall we say. They are the voice that they hear when they're listening to games, from Australia, New Zealand, America, Canada, wherever it is. Everyone knows Mark Griffiths. And you had a chat with him, and it was a great podcast. I really enjoyed it. What did you make of the news this week? Adrian, I'll come to you first. It wasn't this week, actually. Sorry, it was last week that he'd applied for a job within the media team, and it's the second time he'd applied for the job and he hadn't got it. And he sort of put a tweet out that he was very sad. He didn't think he was going to realise his dream working for the club. What did you sort of make of let's start with, what did you make of Wrexham not taking the opportunity to get somebody like Mark on board and in the media team?
This is a good question. I've actually had a pretty open discussion with
you had
Chris
to rein me in on this one.
I had to rein him in a little bit, and I'll go into that in a moment. But basically, obviously, at first glance, I was disappointed. But at the same time, I looked into what the role was and what he was actually going for, and I think the misconception by us international fans, even me included, especially at the start, believed, they're denying him being a commentator and they're just taking him for a ride, right? But that wasn't the case. He, the job he applied for, I think, had some qualifications that he just didn't meet. And then they've got Matt, who I don't know personally. I have no affiliation with him. But I assume he does have those, I guess, missing qualities. Now, in saying that, I think Mark should definitely be employed by the club, at least for what he's currently doing. He does this as a volunteer gig, and he has done so for so long. And I think Wrexham has a lot to as a club, and I hate saying this, but a lot to owe towards him for what's happened. Because yes, Welcome to Wrexham was the gateway drug, but the actual to keep us going on Wrexham and keep us up to date, especially previous, like if we didn't have National League TV didn't exist halfway through that season as well. And people forget that. And for international people who couldn't go to a game, that's how we got it. That's the only way we got it. So I was upset for him, and I understand that there was this outrage. I think a lot of it was taken out of context and people took it way too far. Me and Chris had a great discussion on that. And I just said, look, we maybe just need to be sensible about this response, because if we are trying to say, oh, this, that, pitchforks, and we don't have the full detail, we might look a bit silly. So look, we aren't educated to make this decision, Chris and I, but at the same time, of course, we'd love him to be paid by the club for what he does currently. And we wish Matt all the best with what he's doing as well, because I'm sure he's going to bring another element as well.
Yeah, I do think it was an opportunity missed in some aspects. But when I first found out, I was out for blood, and I'm like, how dare they do this to Mark?
He was texting me like, we're going to talk about it all on the pod, and I'm going to go off.
I was like, I was ready. I'm like, yes, bring on a rant. But nah, Adrian's like, no, mate, let's have a look at this. Let's calm down, and let's because we've got a bit of a following now. We don't want to alienate our viewers, and we did see there was a little bit of, from the other side as well, there was a little bit of to and froing about people saying, it's not what you think it is. But I do think that the club really need to get behind Mark and do something for him, employ him. He's more than earned it, and he more than deserves it. And he is an amazing guy. We sat and spoke for hours after the podcast. Like he gave us so much of his time, had so many stories. I can't speak high enough of the bloke. He's great. And I really wish that the club would get behind him and support him and help him in his endeavors. And maybe the new guy coming on will do that, or open the door for him for that. We don't know, but
yeah, definitely. I'm to be honest, I asked that question. I'm really glad. I did have follow-up questions, but to be fair, I'm really glad you answered in the way that you did, to be honest, because that's sort of my view as well. I was like, when we talked about it, I was like, that's really sad that he hasn't, got to fulfill it. But then at the same time, I sort of sat back and went, well, what job has he actually applied for? It's okay. If I was a volunteer at a hospital for 20 years and then I went for a job and didn't get it, and then, I was outraged at it, and then people asked me, well, what job have you gone for? And I was going, oh, head surgeon. I've never done an operation in my life. We just didn't know what he had actually applied for at the time. And I think, there was a lot of this sort of hysteria from a lot of people saying that, it's bad. But I agree completely with everything that you've said. There is an opportunity to have Mark on board at the club as a paid member of staff. And ideally, I think it is a paid member of staff doing what he is currently doing, as opposed to a different job within the media team that perhaps he isn't qualified for, that, just to give him a job, I think, to be honest.
I agree. Moving on now, obviously we've, talked about Mark Griffiths, but what I want to know, and I'll come to you first, Adrian, how does it feel supporting a team from thousands of miles away? Although you are thousands and thousands of miles away, I don't even know how many thousands.
Few.
Yeah. Geography's not my strong point.
Skipping a jump, yep.
Yeah.
Do you still feel the connection to the club like Ryan and I would, because obviously we're here? And
yeah. Honestly, I feel so connected to the people more than anything. I think I mentioned it, especially like when I started out, I made a Twitter account for, Australian Wrexham supporters. Little did I know, there's actually been people in Sydney doing it for 30 years. But, and then I get to find out, about that. But when I was doing it, I was just hoping to find like-minded individuals who, maybe had gone through what I'd gone through and seen it and embraced it. Not only did I get that from all walks of life, from every country I could think of, but the one thing I didn't think the people of Wrexham would embrace that kind of change, just because I know how sacred clubs are. And I didn't know how I was going to be received, or how Chris and I will be received doing a podcast. So for us to be able to have people want to talk to us about the club, I'm up in the morning after a game, especially on a work day. You guys, it's like, I think it's nighttime for you guys when I'm starting work. And I'm already on Twitter, just like seeing people's tweets, that people are out having a fun, and like seeing that, our post-match or whatever it might be, and people wanting to talk to me still, even though I'm on the other side of the globe and I'm not really physically a part of it. But spiritually, I feel like you've embraced, as existing fans and existing, I say employees, not employees, existing residents, you embraced everyone, and I think that's just a testament to not just Wrexham people, but Welsh people as a whole. And I couldn't thank you enough.
Oh, that's really nice.
How about you, Chris?
Did you? I was gonna. Sorry. Sorry. But Chris, when you started doing the podcast, were you worried about the perception of international fans supporting a club in a town that you'd never visited before?
Honestly, no. Because the whole point of me and Adrian doing the podcast in the first place was just for fun. It wasn't anything that we wanted to do to be recognized or anything like that. We just wanted to come together and have some fun. And, we thought this might be something different, that we could possibly bring something different to the table in podcasts, and just put it out there and see what happens. And that was always going to be the case. It was never something we did to get recognized. It was purely just for fun. So, and the Wrexham people, I've just got so much love for, because they've embraced us and been like, yeah, the Aussie boys, and the two beards men, and they really love us, and it's so heartwarming to see. And to the point I complained to my mum the other day, I'm like, why couldn't you just have me born in Wrexham? I mean, come on, why Coventry?
About the team, then, just to sort of to finish off, we're moving into a sort of a new season. It's right around the corner, and I'm sure everyone's almost at fever pitch. We're weeks away now, whereas not that long ago it felt like forever away, but it's really close. What is both of your sort of feelings about next season? What how's it going to go? Where are we going to finish? What are your sort of hopes for next season?
We have very different opinions, and we just found that out last week. So this is going to be interesting. So, you know what? Do you want me to start with my pessimistic view, or do you want to start with his optimistic view?
Let's go on, Adrian. Let's start with you first.
Look, and it's so funny. I say pessimistic. I still think we'll get promoted. I just think it's going to be hard season for the simple fact that we are the ones being chased now. Every game is going to be a playoff game. Every game we come up against, home or away, people are going to bring it, whether they're bottom of the table, whether they're top of the table. If you scalp Wrexham, that's world news for them. That's boost their ego, whatever it might be. I just think that's going to play a major factor in this season. And I think we will find, at least at the start, it is going to be a bit of a rude awakening, in the sense that there will be just this constant pressure all the time. But I think we'll get automatic promotion, honestly. I think we'll get, I keep saying third or second. I just think that especially teams like MK Dons who are coming down, they might want retribution, or even other clubs like Grimsby who are on the up. So yeah, that's just my opinion. But I know Chris has a very different one, so I'll let him do that.
Come on, Chris, lift the mood for us. Come on.
Mate, Wrexham going back to back. straight up again as champions. No ifs, buts, maybes about it. They flipping doing it. And mate, we had a really, really juicy discussion about this one because I'm not so. And I look at it as like, well, okay, last season you needed roughly a 50% win rate to be in promotion territory in the upper echelons of the table. And I'm like, yeah, Wrexham's not getting defeated at home. I don't care who you are. You come to the race course, you're getting worked. Yeah, so I just felt very passionately about that one, and we had a very, very juicy discussion on a previous episode. And yeah, I'm everything, every fiber of my being says Wrexham going back to back.
Can I also just put in that I want that to happen. A lot of people are like, oh, what you got? I'm like, mate, firstly, I think we're going to get promoted, but I agree. I want that to happen more than anything.
And we've got a little side bet that if Wrexham do go back to back, I'm going to ship myself over to Adelaide so we can celebrate together.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, definitely. I think I am somewhere. I think I'm more towards Chris than I am Adrian in what you've both just said.
I'm all Chris.
Yeah, no,
I'm all Chris. I'm like, yeah.
I am definitely more towards Chris than I am Adrian. Although I think I'm not quite all the way there. I'm not 100% it's going to happen. I think a lot of fans are going to be surprised by how difficult it's going to be compared to the season we've just had. Although I do still think that I'm about 95% that we're going to win that league. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm at. But the 5% is top three. So it's fine anyway. But
win-win, whatever.
It is win-win. I just think it's going to be a lot more difficult than people. But I just think, like Adrian said then, for whoever we play, it's going to be a scalp. I think they're used to that. I think the squad are used to that because definitely. In the National League, it was exactly the same. We found teams that we played last season that had 100% up their game when they came to play us. Yeah. I mean, Maidenhead was one that springs to mind. When we played, they were a different team. I'd watched them play so many times. I thought they're awful, and then we go and play them, and it just the team. There's levels that teams raise their game. So I do think that the current squad are already used to that. And I think it's going to be a case of, I think they're ready for it. And I hope so. I hope so.
I think you're right. Just on that note, because I'm very much the same. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for Wrexham. I think they're going to stumble a few times. Thankfully, the way the league is structured, they can afford to do that. But I'm very still much. No, they're going up. And you look at the pressure that they had to deal with last season, and this pressure was immense that no other team in the whole entire league, all the way up to the Premier League, no other team other than Wrexham had to deal with that amount of pressure. And when the Notts County game came around, and they just handled it beautifully, and no matter who came up against them, they were still there. They didn't give up. They're fighters, and they're going to take that same spirit into this season. And yeah, they're going back to back. So sorry, Adrian, mate, back in your corner.
Oh, mate, what's funny about this is he argues so profusely about this, and I go, I'm just saying we're going up regardless, right? Like, I'm saying that we still go up. And as a Wrexham fan, and if you told me at the start of the season we were guaranteed to go up, you'd take that every day of the week. So it's like, that's why I keep kind of hounding him on this, because I'm like, just don't get your hopes up. I don't want you to be upset if we get second or third, because we're still going up, buddy. But he's like, back to back. I'm like, all right, I get you.
Right. So we will move on to the quiz,
Yay.
which Sean loves and week in, week out. Just before we do that, just a quick shout out for Dragon Chat. So Dragon Chat is a mental health peer support group, and they run a weekly Zoom call at 7 p.m. I always have to look at this. I've announced this 51 times, and I still have to check the time because it's really important to me, and I think I have to get the details right. So it's at 7 p.m. on a Thursday every week. It's for an hour and a half, and it's for anybody out there who's struggling with their mental health. Wrexham AFC released details of the call on a Thursday on Twitter, on Facebook, on all their socials. If you are struggling, you want someone to talk to, highly recommended to jump on that. I've been on there, and it's brilliant. If you are struggling to find the details, please get in touch with us and we will point you in the right direction. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link to it all down in the description there. Boom. So it is quiz time. So guys, as every week, we do 5 sections. In each section, there are 3 statements. One of them is true. The other 2 are lies made up by my crazy mind. So all you guys have to do is pick out the truth, basically. I will start with Sian because I don't trust her and I think she will cheat and steal other people's answers.
Wow.
So what I will do is I will read the 3 statements out. I will come to each of you and I will just ask for a number, 1, 2 or 3, and then we'll tot up the scores. You might want to add up the scores because I'm not very good at that.
Yeah, I'm taking note.
Okay, first one. Paul Mullin won Men's Player of the Season for the 2nd season in a row. That is a feat also achieved by one of his current teammates. Or number 2, the Men's Players Player of the Season was won this week by Ben Tozer. Or number 3, Amber Lightfoot won Women's Young Player of the Season this week. This is the 3rd season in a row she has won the award. The first time any Wrexham player has ever won 3 season awards in a row, men or women.
Well, I know the Tozer was and it isn't true.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with 1.
Number 1?
Number 1. Paul Mullin.
Adrian?
I'm going to go with 1.
1. And Chris?
Yeah, I'm gonna back your wife on this one. I'm gonna go with 1.
Yeah.
You are all correct. It is number 1. So that is a feat that has been achieved by Luke Young. So Luke Young has won Player of the Season 2 seasons in a row before as well. Well done to everyone. Don't think that's ever happened before, but anyway. Okay, number 2. Billy Waters' first name is Henry. Number 2. Humphrey Kerr's first name is River. Or number 3, Wrexham women's defender TJ Dickens' first name is Tonisha.
3.
Number 3?
Yeah.
Adrian?
Oh, that one's a really hard one. You know what? I'm going to be different. Go 2.
Number 2, so Humphrey Kerr. And Chris?
Oh, I'm going to go number 3.
Number 3 as well. So Billy Waters' first name is Bill. Okay, so his middle name is Henry. Humphrey Kerr's first name is not River, but River is his middle name. So TJ Dickens' first name is Tonisha. Tonisha.
So who?
Chris,
did you say?
I got it wrong. Chris got it right.
Okay.
I heard River because I've heard it before, but I was like,
Yeah.
but I'm like, is it something that's I should remember? And then I was like, when you said middle name, I'm like, I think I remember in an interview. That's what said.
Yeah. So the 3rd section. Number 1, an adult season ticket in the university end costs £374. Number 2, the new grass recently laid at the racecourse was grown in Wrexham, Buckinghamshire. Or number 3, Aaron Hayden was signed by Chelsea when he was 12 years old.
1.
Number 1, the season ticket.
Yeah.
Adrian?
Price is hard to go off of. Let's go with Aaron Hayden 3.
Okay, and Chris?
Oh dear. See the way Sean just was so confident, like, oh no.
Yeah, it's like she like, and I was like, she either
and
really
you
knows
guys,
it really well,
you
or
guys
she's throwing
would
us off.
know. Yeah, you guys would know, but are you going to?
They would
throw us
know,
off?
right? They're going to throw us off, or they do? Is it right? Ah,
I tell you what, I'm going to be different. I'm going to go number 2.
Number 2. So an adult season in the university end is not £374, it's £340. It's £374 for us.
That's why I said it.
It is cheaper in the university end.
oh, that was a trick question.
It was. The new grass was not grown in Wrexham. So you are correct, Adrian. Aaron Hayden signed for Chelsea when he was 12.
Back in the race. Also, I'm obsessed with Aaron Hayden, so I feel like I'm
is
glad I got that
Ryan.
one right.
Yeah, I
Ryan
am
is
as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 apiece.
Yes, number 4. Igloo IT is listed as one of the club's official partners on the club website. Or number 2, Ice Drive is listed as one of the club's official partners on the club website. Or number 3, Indigo Fire is listed as one of the club's official partners on the club website.
Oh my God, I've no clue. I'm just going to go 2.
2?
Yeah,
Okay,
don't know.
Adrian?
1.
1, Igloo IT, and Chris?
What were the 3 options again?
So you got Igloo IT, Ice Drive, or Indigo Fire.
2.
2, Ice Drive. Ice Drive is correct. Yes.
Oh, well
Yes.
done, guys. Good guess. That was a hard one.
Yes. The last one. You can buy a Paul Mullin mask on the club shop website for £1.99. Number 2, as the crow flies, the closest EFL club to Wrexham is Shrewsbury Town. I mean, as the crow flies, I mean direct line. Okay, not roads. Or number 3, Wales's first ever home international was played at the racecourse.
Well, I'm rubbish with geography, so I'm going to go 3.
Number 3,
Yeah.
Adrian?
3. Yeah, I feel like just because of the age of the race course, it's most probable.
Yeah, and Chris?
Yeah, I feel like I've heard this before, and I'm pretty sure it's number 3.
Number 3. Oh, yes, it is number 3. So, what are the results?
Me, 4.
Yeah, 4. You got 4.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm making it too easy.
Well done.
Adrian, 3. And Chris, 4. Woo!
Hey!
So we have 2 winners and one not so much a winner. But
I'm a ginger, so I'm always the loser, so don't worry about it.
So anyway, thank you so much to the 2 of you for coming on this week. It's been absolutely brilliant. Everybody needs to head over to listen to the 2 Beards, a podcast, and Wrexham AFC podcast. It is amazing. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. Get over and listen to it. It is brilliant. If you're a YouTube sort of person, they're on there as well. Just type into YouTube 2 Beards, Wrexham, and they are the top search on there. So subscribe to them, like their videos, all that.
Follow them on Twitter.
Yeah, all that jazz. Just let's get them followed and let's get them as many views and listens and everything as we can, because they are absolutely amazing. And thank you very much for all of you for listening this week, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye.